So how I start my day now is by monitoring what VinQ gives me, what vehicles are in market, what is my market day supply, what vehicles are active. Now I can see vehicles that we could out in the open market that we can get that fit our marketing strategies and our business plans. So it becomes a lot more transparent of a tool and more trackable.
You're watching Q the Next Leader, presented by VinQ. I'm your host, Angela Rizzo.
Rudy Padilla's journey into the car business was serendipitous. As a young husband and father, Rudy needed to support his family while waiting to apply for the California Highway Patrol. He answered a newspaper ad for a local dealership over 4 decades ago, intending it to be a temporary job. His temporary job, however, evolved into a lifelong passion for serving people and working with numbers. Today, Rudy is the used car director at Berkeley Toyota in Berkeley, California.
I just wanted to thank you profoundly from having me this morning. It's an honor to be here, and I'm very excited of sharing my experience in 4 decades in the car business. And I thank you very much for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, Rudy, the honor is all mine to have you as a customer of VinQ and to learn from you and to work with you. I'm so excited about this podcast today because I had the opportunity to meet you last year at our customer conference, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you're an amazing human, and it really is wonderful to get to know people like you.
Yeah, thank you. One thing that was impactful of the meeting is when you were standing in front of the podium and all of a sudden you did this and you started to do this and you started to do this and the next thing, as you can tell, I have not forgot. So I just wanted
the elevator. I took the elevator down.
That's what it was. I couldn't get to the elevator. It was amazing. I loved it.
Okay, great. Well, okay. So why don't we just get started? Why don't you tell me a little bit about your journey in the automotive industry and what led you here?
I tried to summarize 40 years in 4 minutes, but what got me into the car business really was an accident. I married young. I was, I think, 18 when I got married, met my lady, and my aspiration was to become a California Highway Patrol. I just look forward of writing tickets and, people respect me for just being me. Okay. So what happened is I got married, I got a kid, and my kid was like, I think 6 months old. And it was time for me to apply to the CHP, and I did. But for you to proceed in the next step, 2 things you need. You need to go through a couple more exams, but you also need to wait 6 months before your residence becomes a citizenship. You need to be a citizen to be a CHP. Oh, great, no problem. Oh, well, 6 months. In the meantime, the baby's crying in the living room, and I got nothing in the house to eat. I came from Peru. No mom, no dad, no family, nothing. I just got to make it on my own. And of course, what kept me going was my love for my honey, my baby. So I'm thinking I'm going reading through the papers, and I'm like, hey, automotive sales, come in, come and get me, right? Okay, well, so I answer that. And I got into the car business. I started to sell used cars. That's really how I got into the car business. And I'm thinking, well, I want to give it 6 months, see what happens, put food on the table. And when CHP calls me, we'll go back. Yeah. Well, all did. My first job was with a store called Broadway Ford in 40th and Broadway. Love the store. Ron Teixeira was one of the best owners I had the privilege to work for. Very conservative store. And I joined in. I was selling every single green Ford Granada from 1976 on forward, but I was actually doing well. Key factor, I didn't speak English. 0 English. So how I got myself known is we had a Safeway down the street, and I would go and buy me a carnation. So I would wear a polyester shirt, a carnation, and I would be on the floor, white shoes. I swear. This is how I got started. So people start remembering me for being the flower kid. So the flower kid this, a flower kid that. Okay. So what happened is now 6 months goes by. I ended up making a decent living, even without speaking English. And I love that the owners loved me and they were helping me in every way they can. So then I get a call from the CHP. Hey, your time is up. Come get your exam. Give me 6 more months. Well, 4 decades later, I'm still giving it 6 more months. So here I am.
That's a great story. It's a great story. And you know what? You were destined to be a car dealer, not a CHP officer.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? Destiny.
Yeah, that was the destiny. And also, I was taking up in high school. I was taking up a proficiency test, or an attitude test, or something like that. Why, kid? What do you want to become? Well, I want to be an airline pilot. It's like wasn't even the eggshells were not even out of my egg yet. I want to be a pilot. So they gave me this test, and they go, "Yep, you don't have the character to be a pilot. The pilots are too confined. Your character has to be an industry combined in two things. Number one, they were dead on it. That was not even out of my crib yet. Number one, it involves people. You are a people person. Number two, numbers. If you find an industry that you have the combination of people and numbers, that's where you belong." Of course, I got disappointed. I cannot be an airline pilot. I went home. I told my mom, I don't want to go to the airport anymore. So she sent me to America because I kept bugging her. So that's how I got started.
I love it. I love it. So now fast forward 40 years. Now you're at Berkeley Toyota. Can you tell us a little bit about your dealership? And
Absolutely. How I got into the dealership is in the 40 years that I've been in the car business, I've been privileged to work for a handful of dealers, all very dealers really close. So prior to arriving to Berkeley, I worked 13 years at Toyota Vallejo. In those 13 years, we got the store from selling roughly 40, 50 cars to now 120, I'm talking new cars, and then another 100 used cars. The bottom line is for 15 years running, we made self-sufficiency. I had my Super Bowl ring and the parties, I won trips, and my life was great. Within that, to me, as I mentioned, the people is really at times more important than what you know. So the network that I developed, they call me DTK. DTK. DTK stood for Dealer Trade King. There was not a single dealer that I did not know, or I didn't do business with, or that I wasn't engaged with. To me, it was important to be the pivotal source because with factories and the ever-changing, back then they were in the efficiency pool, it was important to have all the networks available, including what I would call my social network, even before social media became social media. So the bottom line is when I came out of Vallejo, I became a real estate agent. Yeah, what happened was this. I ended up buying a condominium. I needed to move. I go and needed to hire a real estate agent. And this real estate agent says, "Hey, you're the greatest. You should be working in real estate. Let me introduce you to my broker." The next thing you know, the broker's writing me a check to join the Contra Costa Association of Realtors and blah, blah, blah. And the next thing I know, I'm a realtor too. So I started doing really well in real estate. And this is when the market crash happened in 08 and 09. I actually, when the 21 agents in the office became reducing in staff because the market crashed, what I did is I pivoted without even realizing how proactive this move was. So what I did is I was not only still selling cars because that went down a little bit, but part of my pivoting included in becoming a specialist on foreclosure and short sale specialists. So what I did is for 2 years running, instead of selling real estate, began to save homes. Bottom line, those seeds planted for 2 years running, when the market corrected, became 32 leads in my database that were so solid. They were so strong. Every single one of them recovered. Not only recovered financially, recovered with jobs, but by the time they recovered, guess what I had? One of the most pure and most trustworthy databases that I could have, with names that not only transacted once, I had some that transacted 3 times per lead. So the next thing I know, I'm no longer procuring leads in real estate. Now I'm just answering phone calls. And the next thing you know. So what happened is then how I ended up, fast forward to Toyota Berkeley, is I made the attempt to retire from the auto industry after 20 some odd years. Okay, I'm thinking, I'm just going to sell real estate. As a matter of fact, the head for Toyota Financial Services, his name is Terry Moore. We exit the business at the same time. He still sells real estate. And as a matter of fact, when we have reunions and real estate meetings, we meet each other and we'll see each other, we buy each other lunch. And I cannot be happier with how privileged I am by retaining relationships and retaining not only one industry, but the following. So what happened is, fast forward, I retired from the industry, and maybe a year later, I get a call from Mr. Southwick. Mr. Southwick says, "Hey, kid, what are you doing?" And of course, I'm selling real estate, sir. Thank you for calling. Are you selling your businesses, your building? Can I help you? He goes, no, as a matter of fact, you don't need to retire. Come work for me. I'm like, no, I'm retired. He goes, no, you can't be retired. You got to talk to me. So we kind of played the standoff for a little bit. I ended up meeting with him. Let me put it this way. You never want to turn down a general manager or an owner. Okay, that's not good advice. Okay, that's the first thing to the newest generations that I could give. So guess what I did? I turned him down. So I learned by that mistake. So 2 runs later, I agreed to go back to Toyota Berkeley. And when I rejoined Toyota Berkeley, the good news is the general sales manager that was there before, I had a relationship with him because I traded with them, and I traded the store. I knew the store. I knew the Southwicks. I was very familiar. And so what I did is rejoin Toyota Berkeley, somewhat already familiar. I have to admit, when I first joined the store, it was in 2011, as a matter of fact. The first thing is I came to a state of shock. I came from a store also before at Oakland Nissan that sold an average of 50 cars, 50, 60 cars, low volume, really. As then continue on, then I had to get used to doing more volume. So how I ended up at Berkeley is when I first walked in, I'm thinking, I look at the board, they had 25 new cars for the month. I'm like, I look at my GM and I'm going, how do you guys pay the bills with this? He goes, don't worry about that. I go, okay, where? He goes, I'll never forget it. He goes, we're funded. Okay, great. I'm glad you have money because it can't be coming from car sales. Okay, because I'm with 25 cars. He goes, let me show you the right. So the bottom line is I realized that the store was asleep. It needed leadership. So slowly but surely, in one of the most immediate keys of success was this. I joined in. I noticed the volume was down. Then I go to the used car department. They had 15 used cars. So the total store had 40 cars total. They had not made self-sufficiency ever. And self-sufficiency is an award that Toyota has. In Toyota Vallejo, I came out of a 13-year in a row self-sufficiency team. Okay, so to me, it was a culture shock. I look at them and I go, you know that, you guys, you got a lot of work to do. Mr. Southwick looks at me. He goes, you know what the biggest problem is? Okay, edify me or talk to me. And he goes, well, our CSI, back then it was really an odd way of scoring CSIs. Our CSI has not been in the green for 2 years running. And I don't know if he was, kidding at the beginning, but he goes, look, well, here's the CSI records for 2 years straight. The privilege that I had is that, again, one more time, people in numbers, right? I'm thinking, if your CSI is like this, one thing I know for sure is this. Regardless of what the showroom experience is in your dealership, there's a lack of understanding of how to transfer the experience to a record. The experience could be favorable or unfavorable, but the record has to be consistent. So the first thing we started is like, hey, Mr. Southwick, you got a problem here. Because in 2 years on a road, one thing I can say is this. CSI scores are symptomatic. There's a symptom of not only performance, but it's also a symptom of mismanagement. And I'm not saying this to offend anyone, but what is happening here is, look, I went back to all the surveys that he proudly showed me. Look at, and the privilege that I had is that I had been with Vallejo for 13 years too. I knew the scores. There was not a single month that we went in the red. And I go, look, this is what you need to do. Give him an action plan. In less than a week, I go, look, well, this is what we got to start. So to get started, what we need to do is, and I wrote him an 18-month business action plan. It was 39 pages, stamps it, receives it, gives me a copy, and I go, oh, yeah, let's go. And I did that mainly for him, not for me, because I knew my business plan, but I need him to buy into the business plan and the objectives. So the first thing that I asked him to commit is this, okay? But not necessarily on budgets and marketing and that. I needed to fix internal problems. So the first thing I did is, okay, sir, the first thing we got to do is to fix your CSI. How we're going to fix your CSI is the lack of impression, because the client's perception is your reality. That's the first thing we've got to understand. So the first thing we got to do is change the experience. So what you're doing now is once a customer goes to the finance office, they're going back to the salesperson. The salesperson may have another client and they have to deliver the car. And guess what? The problem you're having is the most memorable time after the second grind in finance. You ground them for the car sale. Now you've grounded them in finance. Once they exit finance, it is the most memorable time in where the emotion is going to be at the most high. So the two things you got to do. Number one, understand how the system works score-wise in the CSI. Number two, work on the experience, and you're going to ask for surveys. Angela, it didn't take 1 month. What I did is this. I asked my GM to make one small change, and we created one position. I created a business development, vehicle delivery coordinator. My cashier, her name was Lashana Brown, a doll of a lady, just charismatic, a smile that was worth $1 million. I go, Lashana, you want to make extra money? She goes, oh, of course. All right, so you're my delivery coordinator. This is what you're going to do. Once finance gets done with the deal, they're going to come and get you. You're going to put the phones into our main operator. And what you're going to do is you're going to go over the entire delivery, setting up phones, whatever information. And we're also going to set up our first service because that was a scoreable question. So in other words, we then matched a delivery process that was consistent with the surveying questions. It was consistent with retention. Basic. I joined them in January of 2011. In February, I think, or March, our store went in the green for the first time in 2 years.
Wow.
Stayed in the green. The 18 months, my business plan was in effect. Now, 1 month, not one, we went into the red. Mr. Southwick, the first month comes to me. He goes, kid, you know what? We're going to be in a relationship for a long time. I just want you to know. I cannot believe this is what is happening. And he goes, and he just basically gave me full reign at that point. So that's how I rejoined Toyota Berkeley. And hopefully it won't take as much time on the next question. I'm only going to be here 2 days. But just to give you an idea of how I rejoined and why I continue till this day and to serve in both industries. And at the same time, why we are very proactively successful also in Berkeley.
That's great. So are you still selling real estate?
I just closed on escrow last month.
Look at you.
Yes,
you're the busiest retired guy I've ever met.
I'm in the people and commodity business. Once that concept clicked, then I was able to do one thing. I can still serve both because my condition of returning to Mr. Southwick, I had to continue to sell real estate. I love real estate too. And at that point, it was extremely important then to shift from being a salesperson or a marketer or a realtor or an auto industry to be a time manager. Now, time and tasks, because contractually speaking, real estate is very uniformed. You can't go over time frames. And of course, here's a car business. So by the time you have Andromeda meeting the Milky Way, you're going to have a new galaxy, and that's what you have.
But you know what's fascinating, Rudy, is that you are helping people purchase the two most important purchases they will make in their lives: homes and cars.
Yes. And that's exactly why. First, they both of them have one basic common ground. Number one, they're people. And number two, they're numbers. I have been privileged to be around financial statements in dealerships for long enough. I understand numbers. I'm driven. I love numbers. As a matter of fact, in my cereal, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of my ABCs. But even at times, like one of the messages that I give my GM is, look, you know what? People can tell you anything. You want to know the truth? Read your financial statements. They don't lie. And that's my favorite line to my GM, because when you see either gross, either pivoting or expenses and this and that and the other, the numbers tell you the story. And I can be number one on everything. So let's be number one and really have a core. Okay, so start with it.
I love it. Well, I want to really get into talking about your experience not only in the car business, but your experience as a VinQ customer. We have the privilege
Sure.
of having your dealership on our service. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, what are some of the things that you do or that you get from VinQ that helps your dealership. We can start
Absolutely.
there.
And there's two ways that I got from VinQ. First, before joining Unleash, VinQ was just an extra forum. I would say one more forum. Okay, we have Viato, we have now VinQ, I have all these forums. None of the forums really were as exciting as VinQ in one particular reason. I also think that the Unleash program, it was pivotal for even VinQ's success, because Unleash was the event that converted a forum to a live event. In other words, from having the data, from knowing what to do is the best way I can put it, to committing in what to do in the application. That's what what Unleash did for me. So I went from, okay, it's a good program. I was initially only in my buying center, which now we moved into now vehicle management, buying center, and blah, 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 blah. But what is happening now is VinQ was, pardon me, I'm so sorry, Unleash was the event that allowed me to really wake up to the value behind of this particular forum. And this is why I also expanded to vehicle management as well. And I continue to expand completely with VinQ and also partner up completely and committing my path into the VinQ system. I've been with Viato for about a decade, and I did performance coaching for a decade with Viato. Not once I've had the impact, even though that training was it was key to get me to where I am now. With Viato, of course, then here I continue to be here. Results are like, okay, you're doing okay. Nothing like here's Unleash. And Unleash brought not only what I already knew and had trained in Viato, but brought to also a life way of applying it. To give an example, how I start my day is key now. VinQ management is key. So how I start my day now is by monitoring what VinQ gives me, what vehicles are in market, what is my market day supply, what vehicles are active. Now I can see vehicles that we can in the open market that we can get that fit our marketing strategies and our business plans. So it becomes a lot more transparent of a tool and more trackable. But this is, again, only half of the battle, because the other half comes in the people, as I mentioned earlier, that I've met. One of my biggest driving blessings is Glenn Lundy, because, I get his daily motivational meetings. 800%, 800%. Angela, I'm only up 30% and I'm sweating. But the thing is, 800% is achievable. But it is the driving force that I got out of VinQ, the people that I've met, the Unleash events that really had put it all together into the biggest product, which is called leadership. To me, it's really what VinQ and Unleash brought to my life. It's a mindset that has allowed me to from the moment I wake up in the morning, actually starts the day before. I already know what my day is going to look like. I already know how many leads I'm going to get. I already know everything. So here's the bottom line. One of the objectives that I changed from Unleash is the following. We no longer have monthly objectives. I have daily objectives. What daily objective allowed me to do is to track on the now, not on a month from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now, in the now. What are we doing to today hit our goal? Because our daily goal is to, we have to expand the goal, of course, but for now is to sell 2 vehicles per day and acquire 4 vehicles per day But those 4 vehicles per day, for now, it still includes auctions. But right now, I can also say I'm auction free, pre-auction less dependent because of what VinQ did with my buy-in center and wrapping this whole work that we've been doing. I am a buy-in center. I'm getting clients from my service department, and we have a landmine. I'm so sorry, a mine gold in our store
Gold
because
mine.
we have. God bless you. Thank you.
Gold
Because we
mine.
have the new car store, then we have the certified center, we have a tire shop, we have a coffee shop, we have all these businesses that are really not located in one building, which is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity because what happened is we're reaching out different segments of markets. And what happens is now with the in our marketing center, I have a flyer that has a QR code that allows me to track each and every location. So each and every person, each and every location, each and every active wheel is what I call it, that procures leads. And I'm talking organic leads now. They go into my e-leads, all coming from VinQ. All this has reduced expenses because I don't have to buy these leads anymore. It's allowed me to recommit to VinQ, but most importantly, in a fashion that is very trackable. To me, it can get better than what this product offers.
Wow, that's very powerful. And for our listeners who might not know what Unleashed is the annual VinQ dealer conference. We had our first one last November, in November 2023. And that's what Rudy is speaking to. I think you met Glenn Lundy at the
Yes.
event, and
Yes,
maybe
I
a
did.
few had some impact on you. Would you like to talk about some of those other relationships?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think everyone, especially the staff at VinQ, is impactful. The young talent there is just incredible. But the two special relationships, in addition to Glenn, that are truly what I would call my access to success. First is Danelle Delgado. She is powerful. Is not only a motivational spirit, motivational soul. She's not only really worth staying in contact, but in meeting her, I also learned that even Glenn had an expectancy out of Danelle that included having a return call, which I got a little faster than Glenn. So I'm using that as leverage for now. In the second, because Danelle and Glenn are really related to what we do every day, our operations. The third person that is less on the daily operations, on the hands-on operations, but it is part of our soul, was meeting Bill Dunias. What a gentleman. What an impact he's had in my life, because now with that, I can balance who I really am, what really drives the energy that lies within the unleashed power that we all have. And then how do we then, by using Danelle and Glenn's leadership and style with VinQ, it allows me to really apply the business plan with a passion that is driven by my purpose. In having purpose in life, and having purpose in business, and having purpose in everything is what drives me.
Wow, that is so powerful. You know, it
Speaking
really
from the
is.
heart.
You really are. And spend some time with Glenn and with Danelle. And I have two more incredible people.
Yes.
They really know what they're doing, don't they?
And they must meet in your bucket list.
Big time.
Absolutely.
Big time.
And to receive, again, the acceptance from them, it's an honor. These people don't waste their time. So you have to raise your standard. These people are really the people that will catapult your dreams, what I called my bold life, BOLD. Business life, or building our lives by design, BOLD, build our lives by design. So these are the people that allow me not only academically, but again, with Bill, also spiritually. My Catholic background really is more conservative. or tends to be more conservative, is the best way I can put it, but Bill's perspective of not only today's really perspective on what he does, but how to be tight on the daily operations, because we're not robots. We're human beings. People buy from emotion. So once we understand that the client's perception is what we really need in order to succeed in our business, it's not our perception, it's the client's perception. Then we work processes, programs, platforms, people, you name it, whatever is in our vision to come to see it come to pass. Everything
Rudy,
is possible.
Is that what you're doing? Is it the things that you're taking and learning from Glenn and Danelle and Bill? How are you taking some of those things and implementing them in your dealership?
One of the first things Glenn talks about, and which is the very first thing since meeting him, your dealership culture. One thing I learned from Glenn is this: well, culture doesn't stop. Culture is part of an integral part of either an institution or a being. Meaning, to establish a culture, you cannot take days off. You have to be consistently every single day selling your culture, building your culture. Believe it or not, at times even pivoting your culture, because you will experience life events that will force you to change cultures. We'll talk about that a little bit as we move forward too. But meeting Glenn allowed me, number one, to begin my day the night before, because I start my day expecting two things. Number one, what's on my schedule? Okay, it's very rigid. I already have a schedule that's full. And this may not make sense, because the second thing I expect to be interrupted, because that's going to derail my entire schedule. So what happens is it allows me to control events, whether they're ebbs, flows, or takes ups, level-headed. I don't have those emotional highs and lows. But what I do is then look at it positively. What is actually being set up? What is actually a surprise? And here comes Danelle. Do your best. And here comes Bill. We live forever. So it's like, oh no, we're not going to escape the car business. So a combination of all of it is what really brings joy to my soul. I keep using the word soul because it's the only word that I can describe the joy of not only academically knowing what to do, but being around the right people that can practically help you achieve what lies within.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is so powerful. I have to throw my whole script out the window of all my questions.
Let's roll,
because
no
this is what I want to talk about. I mean, this is so powerful. What else? Tell me what else is on your mind. I know you have things you want to talk about. Let's just talk about them.
Oh boy, what I have on my mind is continue to expand. I've had before Unleash a business objective that is slowly coming to pass. I want to talk perhaps and how to bring, I guess, what I already see coming a little bit faster, a little bit closer. And for that, I need people. And of course, I need a really aggressive business action plan. But it really also, what I would love to talk about is how to really practice, no matter what happens. You can be in ebbs, you can be in flow, you can be this, you can be, that doesn't really matter. How to really, at the end of the day, because I've had days, and I'm not, maybe you're going to want to pause this, but I had days that I worked 13 hours without a break. Okay. Mm-hmm. I still went home happy. Mm-hmm. I was seeing stars. Don't get me wrong. I was seeing stars and I'm going, oh my God, how can I take a break? But my question was like, oh, poor me. Or my stand was like, oh, poor me. I'm working, blah, 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 blah. I need it. Oh my God, what a blessed day. What an opportunity I had to work those 13 hours. And I couldn't figure out how to take time off, for sure, But we don't miss opportunities. A long time ago, my ex-father-in-law said to me, hey, son, you got to make hay when the sun shines. As a countryman and, a farmer. And that really resonates with me. So every day I wake up joyful, happy, thankful, grateful. There's so much greatness and there's so much awesomeness, even in the world of that we live in today, that is the most volatile, is the way I can put it, that it's up to us to go to bed happy, because we wake up grateful every time we go to bed happy. Our events doesn't determine who we are. We determine who we are. Our events only determine how we earn our living, basically, and maybe what we need to do to improve as human beings. And in my opinion, how to purify what's in here, which is our soul. Everything that we see goes into our soul. Everything that we eat goes into our soul. Everything that we think goes into our soul. So here is really where my entire drive comes into how to be a better manager, how to be a better soul, how to be a better partner to my general manager, how to be a better used car manager, because I am a one-man show. I can actually, there are days that that I go sell cars, I wholesale cars, I do F&I, I dash the deals. That to me doesn't really matter, because I enjoy it and I know how to do it. And between learning how to master how to do it and enjoying it, the key of enjoyment is what delivers the results. Because you could have, again, a 10-hour day, and all of a sudden here comes a late night deal that you have to do F&I with, because your F&I is on maternity leave. You got to understand her position, but, and still there's a growth opportunity. So how at 10 o'clock in the evening still trip a deal and maximize the back ends and going home happy? Again, it's a state of mind. And what VinQ did, unlike what Viato has failed to do in a decade, has awakened the power within. That is what Unleash did. This is what VinQ did for me. And if nothing else, if my words can help awaken somebody else, it can happen. My life is a swirl of events, but I enjoy it. And my brother says, you like to make your life difficult, don't you? Well, that's how his perspective, but I enjoy it. In my life, I don't see it being difficult. I see it being fun, being exciting, being around sorrow, joy, growth, loss, here, there. As a matter of fact, today I'm answering this, unlike most times, from exciting Sin City. I'm in my second home, in my vacation home in Las Vegas. And how I got my home here in Las Vegas, I drove everybody crazy because I bought the house without even looking at it. I actually looked at the house on the day of inspections. But that's what drives me. It's the joy of getting the results you dream. That's why the business life of design, the bold dream, the bold idea, the Mamba mentality, like Kobe used to put it, is what really drives me every day. And VinQ and Unleash, really, it was the event that awakened the power. And again, I will not miss Unleash #2 for anything, as you can tell.
Okay, great. Well, when you talk about Glenn and Danelle, there was something that Danelle said that day at Unleashed. It was one of the first things she said, because, I moderated the panel.
Yes.
And she said to be unoffendable. You remember that?
Which is absolutely. As a matter of fact, it's super interesting, because one of the changes is so interesting. I'm going to share something a little bit, and hopefully, because I have in my phone, basically, I have a little note that has a daily file. So I read my 5 values every day. And 2 of them are pretty much aligned with the 4 values of our lives, which is number 1, don't take anything personal. Number 2, which is a very important thing, and this is where Danelle is my inspiration. Your word has to be impeccable. That is key. If I cannot deliver on my word, zip, won't say anything at all. So that's one of the reasons why, to me, it's a privilege, again, to continue to stay in contact with Danelle and Glenn, because they are my motivational forces at this time. And of course, my GM too, when it comes to me, sure, statement, we can do better. Okay, that's my other motivation.
I love it.
I gotta figure out
how. I love it. Well, we're coming up on time here. We've been talking almost an hour. I could go on for days with you.
I'm yours. You tell me, I'm yours. I love it.
What
Thank you.
are some other things that are happening in your life that you might want to share with us, whether it has to do with the dealership or not? I find that this.
Yeah, one of the things that happened in my life that I also want to share in a very small, and I will try to summarize it, because right before meeting or going to Unleash, we've had an event in our dealership that it was life-changing for everybody. Basically what happened, and I'll try to summarize it, one of our BDC secretaries was murdered in front of everybody. Her ex came and basically murdered her. We all witnessed it. And we can prepare for life. You can prepare business plans, this, that, and the other. And here comes life, bringing you an event that brings the core, especially as we now talk about Bill, we talk about Glenn, and we talk about Danelle, right? Really what happened was really why I became a benefactor of Unleash was because I almost wasn't able to attend Unleash because I was not emotionally ready for a motivational event. Not only the witnessing the event, but how to clean up the scene. Part of it was going through my office. We had to shut down buildings. We had basically to close a store. To make a long story short, we had to pivot 180 degrees. What that taught me was this: the life can change in a nanosecond. Okay, life is not bought. We don't have life bought. What happens to us in our life is less important, and even as this particular event is traumatizing, and we still have people that have not returned to work. Okay, what it taught me is to believe in me, because what I ended up doing is I had to learn, number one, to accept what happened and grieve first. I had to find a period of time of grieving. But what was key for me is this: once my grieving period was over for me, I had to then move forward favorably. I had to grieve and look favorably, everything now from that point forward to be positive. What it allowed me to do is we actually had two buildings. One was unoccupied. So what I did is move the operations to the building next door. Slowly but surely, again, hosted everybody that wanted to come in, gave time off to people that needed to take time off. And in other words, it allowed me to manage emotions, business plans, and life events. And that's why these three people that I keep mentioning are key for me, because no matter what we do, we can, train to read financial statements. I can sell you cars, and I can show you how to sell a vehicle, but no one can prepare us for life or for life events. When we are around by the right supportive group of people, you will have the best opportunity of developing or continuing to develop the person and the manager that you are. You are the leader. Had I collapsed, I am sure more the individuals would have collapsed.
Yes.
And what drives me today is, again, even among all this, I am happy. I understand that what happened was beyond my control, but being happy facing the circumstances is within my control. The same thing, believe it or not, in a personal point of view, is how I also look at how we influence sales and financial statements. No different. So this is why what I call it the academic part of it versus our emotional or social part of it, they both have to play an important role of who we are, balancing both. Not one is not right versus the other. It has to be a balance of both. And this is what also brings me to cherish, who I am as an individual, and as I continue to evolve and change, to continue to work with a heart, because this is the only thing we have. This we train, but this is really the very core part of how I hire. I hire character. I hire individual. You can tell me everything you want to tell me. You can sell me the stories. You can be the greatest salesman in the world. I get that. But if I don't feel your energy, is that connection that to me is what key. And Unleashed, VinQ, is powerful connection. The people, the moderators, you, the staff, everything and everyone is just unparalleled.
Wow. So powerful, Rudy. I don't even know what to say to be able to have someone like you in my life, even though we don't interact on a daily basis. You know, I was born in San Francisco. My family still lives in the Bay Area. And
you're gonna come.
I'm going to come. We're going to probably come visit in the fall. I'm going to come to your store. I'm going to tell, I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters, 16 nieces and nephews. I got to tell them they all have to come buy a car from you the next time they need a car.
Oh my God. See, this is what I'm talking about. What an honor. What a privilege. I still plan to stay in business for a while. So here I am. But no, what an honor. Especially, look, you're from San Francisco. I landed here 40 years ago. I don't plan to go anywhere. I come to Las Vegas only to relax and to have a little bit of fun, but the Bay Area is my home. And I understand the Bay Area. I know the dealers, and I have to admit, I'm so lucky. I'm just beyond fortunate in having to have been in your life and obviously to being invited here to share my experience as well. But it's been amazing. I wish every dealer can have the same experience, quite frankly, and hopefully the little bit of the energy that I'm sharing with you this morning.
I love it. I think your message might resonate with quite a few dealers. I can't wait to get this episode out. We'll probably get it out in a few weeks. So thank you so much, Rudy. Thank you.
My pleasure.
For taking the time to share, some deep feelings and thoughts with us today. Really, really appreciate you.
Likewise, the feeling is very mutual. Again, thank you for having me. And I also look forward to the next time we meet each other, and your family is welcome. And anytime I see you, there's an invitation on the table. Lunch is on me.
Okay, that's
gotta be it. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you to the whole staff, and keep doing what you're doing. This is, again, look at the impact and look at the results of what you guys have had in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rudy.